We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode here on the Hearts of Men podcast. I am one of the co-hosts. My name is the Uncle Jr. and to my left, my right, depending on which, however so you're looking at the screen, that is Mr. Dwayne Dwyer, also known as the Mindset Coach. And at the bottom, we have the youngest man, Mr. Rudy Poot, Mr. Wet Behind His Ears, hat to the side, New York's finest. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Son of Timothy, Mr. Shift Happens. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, not Shift Happens. I'm thinking about Roland. Oh, my goodness. Roland, where you at, brother? There's a sign, man. Maybe, I don't know. I will tell you this. Well, first of all, Son of Timothy, the available man. For some reason, I don't know why Roland said something about he need to reach out to me like last week. I've been seeing him on TikTok, and for some reason, he been on my mind a lot lately, and it came out again. So, I don't know, Roland. Sometime maybe tomorrow we need to connect or what, and I don't know what it is, but we need to link up. We need to connect for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it is what it is. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing today? I know Available Man just clicked off the camera real quick, but other than that, there you go. How are y'all doing? How y'all doing this evening with the snow and all of those other good things like that?
Man, I'm good. You know, I live in Texas, so the snow hit, everybody panicked. It melted 3 days later. We back in Texas again. I'm good though.
All right, you good back in Texas? Sounds good.
Hey man, I'm good. I'm good. All is well. No issues here. Nothing on the ground right now. It's supposed to be in the morning, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Did y'all get something last week?
Not really. We got rain. We got rain last week.
Yeah, we got rain, a little bit of sleet, everything froze and canceled school for a couple of days here in North Carolina. At least where we at, and I'm thinking it's gonna be a little bit more of the same. My middle son is in New York. He had sent me a couple pictures last week. It was to his knees, and then he sent me one this weekend, and it was up to his waist. I mean, regardless of how tall you are, like he a short king too. So he like 5'4". He might be 5'5". So he a short king like his dad. But still, when it comes to your waist, you know what I mean? There's still a lot of snow. I'm slow today. With that being said, man, I am definitely excited to be here this afternoon. We are winding down the month of January. It seems like it went by so fast, man. But we are going to be talking about adversity tonight, different things like that. I'm really excited about tonight's topic. But before we do, I want to go ahead and greet the chat. First of all, thank everybody for being here. We understand that it's Friday night. It is after 8:00 p.m. A lot of people have worked long, hard week, and we understand that you guys could be somewhere else, but you have decided and chosen to hang out with us this afternoon, this evening. So we really, really, really appreciate it. We want to be respectful of your time. We want to make sure that we bring you a good show tonight. With that being said, feel free to chime in, be part of the conversation, ask questions, all of those different things like that. So, rebirth of Nick D, aka Nick D, aka Helper, all of those good things. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you for being here. Miss Crystal Everett, thank you for being here as well. Who else? I think it's RBN Brower.
Robin.
Yes, it's Maya. Thank you for being here. His divine appointment. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. If you're on another platform or something like that, and I may or may not see you again, I apologize. But thank you for being here. Anything else, gentlemen, before we get started? Any notes, any admin, anything you want to put out before we get started?
Hey, tomorrow morning, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. We got our webinar. So if you have not joined, go ahead and scan that QR code beside my head, and we will see you tomorrow morning at 10:30. And I might have a treat for you guys. It might be something that you enjoy. In fact, I'm almost certain it will.
I like it. I like it. I see somebody else just popped in. I think it's a fella Game B. Thank you for being here as well. Welcome to the show. Again, I think the chosen one. Thank you. Welcome to the show as well. So again, if I miss your name, I apologize. Again, welcome to the show. Hit that like button, share it, all of those good things like that. All right, folks, let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are talking about something every one of us in this room and everyone watching has in common: challenges, the stuff we didn't ask for, the seasons we didn't choose, the moments that show up uninvited and say, hey, it's time for you to grow. We spend a lot of our lives trying to avoid adversity, escape it, numb it, or rush past it. But what if the struggle isn't the enemy? What if adversity isn't a detour, but part of the actual path? What if the very thing we're trying to run from is the thing trying to shape us into who we're supposed to become? Every man on this panel has a story where life applied pressure financially, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, and we had a choice. Did it harden us or let it shape us? And if we're honest, sometimes it did both before we figured it out. But the truth is, the strongest, wisest, most grounded version of ourselves was not built in comfort. It was built in the gym of adversity, in loss, in failure, in disappointment, in waiting, in getting it wrong, and having to rebuild. So tonight, we're not here to pretend adversity is fun because it's not, but we are here to explore what it produces when we don't waste it. We want this to be a real conversation, not polished, not perfect, but honest, practical, and hopefully encouraging. And if you're watching this in the middle of a hard season, we want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken, and you're not alone. You might just be in the middle of becoming. Gentlemen, with that being said, want to start the show off with this first definition of challenge. So to me, what I've gathered, what I've put together was this. At any time, if you guys want to change it, adjust it, or add to, take away, anything like that, feel free to do so. Just kind of want to set the tone and the platform or foundation for the conversation going forward. So a challenge is anything that stretches you beyond your current capacity, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. And I do believe that it can be more things than this too, but these are just some. What say you guys?
My challenge with this definition
Okay.
is the word capacity.
Mm.
I don't necessarily believe that a challenge is something that stretches you beyond your capacity. I believe a challenge might be something that you encounter that might be beyond your perspective or beyond anything that you've previously seen. But capacity, I'm struggling with that.
Okay. That's what we here for. I like it. What about you, Gaddy?
I was good with it till Coach started talking.
Yeah.
Nah.
Hey.
But nah, I'm good with it. Um, I do agree that a challenge doesn't have to pull you beyond your capacity. Because a challenge can be anything that just diverts you off your direction sometimes, make you take a detour. It could be a challenge. My kids don't always stretch me past my current capacity, but I be wanting to stretch them past their current capacity, you know. But it's as a challenge. I, I get it
Yeah.
though.
So I like what Coach is saying, and I think I agree. I think I want to make a clarification, at least in my mind, and the separation between the two. So I see as capacity as maybe maybe if I'm running something or if I'm an athlete, like my current capacity right now may not be able to run a 6 second 60-yard dash. I don't have, but if I work to it, and I get there, did I have the capacity or did I not have the capacity? Like right now, and I can't do it. But if I work towards it, can I get there? And I guess maybe this is a question, maybe something for coach that I would like for you to kind of rebuttal or kind of respond back to. And I guess that's if right now I feel like, or I think I don't have the capacity to run a 6 second 60-yard dash. But if I work towards it for a year, 6 months, whatever, certain like that, and then I get to it, did I not have the capacity or did I have the capacity? I just wasn't able to get there yet because I had to put in some physical stuff and some hard work and some training to get there. So does that mean that I didn't have the capacity, or is that something totally different?
So to your question, the answer is B. You
Mhm,
did have the capability at that point in time, but you had the capacity, which is why you were training to get there, right?
mhm.
So that's why I said I was struggling with that word capacity. It's like saying, um, I don't know. It's just capacity is one of those things, and it kind of really sounds very similar to not the same thing, but it sounds very similar to what we were talking about. I think it was last week, week for last, whatever, when we were talking about a growth mindset versus
Mm,
a what was the other one? It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't say it. Yeah, I know
yeah,
what I'm talking about. Fixed mindset,
yeah,
right? So it's very similar to that, having a fixed mindset, but it's not the same, right?
yeah.
Capacity. Maybe I don't have the ability to do it in this moment. Maybe I can't see it in this particular moment. Maybe that's outside of my perspective. But when somebody presented to me, now it's challenging me. It's making me move outside of my comfort zone. And when I move outside of my comfort zone, I don't realize what I'm capable of doing until I actually push myself to the limit to actually do it. Right. So
Yep.
that point now, even those things that I am pushing myself, that's within my capacity. It's
Okay.
just not within my perspective right now.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, I, I'm with you definition wise.
Mhm.
Uh, and I guess I really don't have a problem with saying I had the capacity. I just because the capacity to obtain a thing, right? So I feel where you're going, but I think of it like I guess I'm not using the speed to get to the six, because if I can get to the 60 yard, that my capacity to get to 60 yard is there. Now my speed of which I do it is what I train for, but I'm thinking more of when I got if I want to run a 10K and I ain't never ran a 10K, my capacity is where I'm looking at capacity in that aspect from more of a distance, rather than of a, the durability of a thing. So that's what I'm looking at it is as the durability. And so I do agree that challenges can push me past that level. Like so my durability takes me to 2 miles. But I gotta get all the way out here. So now I'm running that 2 miles until I can add that extra half a mile. Until I can add that extra half a mile, until I can add until I get to that 10K mark, until I can complete it. You know, and so the challenge was I want to be ready to run this 10K. but I can't run a 10K now. But I don't, you know, but I don't think all challenges has to get me to that point, because I want to run a 10K and I can run a 10K, but I roll an ankle the week before. Now I have a challenge ahead of me, but it doesn't. But my capacity is not stretched.
Gotcha.
I
All
hope
right, we're gonna
that
move
makes
on.
sense.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you good? Oh, all right. So we will slide down to the next definition. The next definition tonight is adversity. Adversity is a sustained difficulty, the kind of pressure that doesn't just test your skills, but test your character, your identity, and your resilience.
Does it have
I'm even pausing as I read it again, especially with the character piece. I don't think necessarily adverse. I think it can sometimes, but I think for the most part, it won't test my character.
does it have to be sustained?
I don't think it have to be sustained either. I don't think adversity have to be sustained. But then we're looking at sustained, and what are we classifying? What
That's
are
what I was
we
about to
is
ask.
considered sustained? You know what I mean? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 15 days? Is it 15 incidents? So actually what I'm gonna do, let's just watch this definition. Let's just move on to the here you go for the chat. So here we go, chat. While you at it right there today, go ahead and drop in the chat. What's one challenge you're currently facing or have faced recently? And the same thing with us. I want us to just kind of go around. It don't have to be anything right now. I know I'm kind of putting everybody on the spot, but what's some challenge? I know it's still January, and some people, us, maybe not us, may put on New Year's resolutions, and then statistically, day 10, people are off of it again, and they're back to doing whatever they was on December the 31st. And for some people, that is a challenge for them that they may be facing right now, and is how to get back on the horse from something that they started at the beginning of the year and they may have fell off of. So that's kind of not necessarily my challenge right now, but I see that that's something that's happening right now. And as I look out into the world, I'm hearing people talking about how they're not on their New Year's resolution anymore. So, gentlemen, what do you think is, what's one of your challenges that you're currently facing or have faced recently?
I'll jump out there. You know, um, so as you know, well, if you're not on social media, then you probably don't know, because I have never, other than talked about it to my brothers in the back office. But December, beginning of December, uh, I had a no, actually, it's the end of November. I had a heart attack. I didn't go get seen until the beginning of December. I waited a week. Don't ask me why. I was in denial. Something was going on. But the heart attack wasn't the challenge, because it didn't really scare me. It didn't feel like, that concept. I didn't feel like I was knocking at the door. But it's the recovery part. So you talk about the gym, right? It's the nerve wracking feeling of my heart rate going up, and so when I'm working out, when I'm doing my cardios and I'm doing my stuff, you know, getting myself back in my groove, the challenge is pushing myself to a point, because once I feel that heart rate go up, and once I feel that adrenaline start kicking in, the nerves start kicking in. The worry. I'm like, oh yeah, let me go relax and see how this feels. I'll try it again tomorrow. And so, but tomorrow just keeps being tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So that's my current challenge, is just not being afraid of my own ticker. You know.
Um, I was struggling thinking as I was considering this question, because I couldn't really think of a challenge, but then I had one that just kind of just jumped out at me. And my challenge accepting people where they are. For years, for a very long time, back going dating all the way back to when I was in the army. One of the things I know that I can do is see potential, and it's difficult to meter what you can actually see in a person and accepting what that person chooses to do with themselves. And to me, that's a challenge because in my mind, like, sure, I want the best for that person. I really and truly do, sincerely, authentically. But at the end of the day, what I have to recognize, what I had to recognize is that whatever that person chooses to do with themselves, they believe that that's the best for them and be exactly okay with whatever it is that they choose. And I don't think I'm the only person who does that. I think a lot of people find themselves in the space of that challenge. You care about a person, you really want the best for them, but then recognizing what they choose to do is what they feel is the best and be 100% okay with that. And if you believe that you are exempt from that and you have children, wait till they get old, wait till they become adults.
That was a good one. Um, I wanted to go along those same kind of lines, but I think I am, but I'm a twist it to more of a negative. I'm gonna go with the negative side of it, not to be negative, but to show the other side of it. When it comes to accepting people for who they are, that's something that I've been dealing with, or has been something that's been high on my priority list for different reasons, and I'm still working through all of these challenges as far as, like Coach said, accepting people for who and where they are at this particular time and place. Um, I see potential in people, like Coach said, and it's like, man, I think this person could be a lot better if they would just apply themselves, if they would just do this. And then on the other side is that, part of that challenge for me was making, I guess, in my mind, making me not want to help certain people, not want to give time and energy to people, and then trying to figure out who I should be giving my time and energy to. Going down that path was like, you know what, I got to just accept this person for whoever they are. And that may mean that our relationship we may not spend as much time together or whatever like that because of how that person is, or maybe how I respond to that person and how we are as a relationship. So I definitely can rock with Coach on that one. It's definitely a challenge and something I've been working through for some time. And because, like I said, on the good hand, like, you see people, you was like, man, like I see kids every day, and I'm just like, man, this dude's smart. Whenever he do his work, like he getting A's and B's, but he want to be a clown. He want to hang out and walk up and down the hallways and stuff. And I'm just like, bro, like I can see the potential in you, like, but he don't see it. But I have to be able to accept this dude for where he is. Give him seeds and information when I can, if he's willing and wants it. But at the same time, it is a challenge sometimes when you see people and you want to help them, but they're not willing to help themselves. So definitely appreciate you guys for both of that response. Anything else y'all want to add to or chew on this question? No. Appreciate everybody who had a response in the chat. I did see one from Miss Divine Appointment. She said her current challenge is her facing if she should resign from her position and start her own business. I think that's just personally went through that a little bit during the pandemic. So, um, and I know a lot of people kind of went through that. So, at the end of the day, good luck to you. Next, what we gonna do? I kind of want to go back to the word adversity again. So, what I'm gonna do is slide down to this next one over here, and kind of go back to it, and then so what we're going to do is we're going to go to this question to think about it. And then I want to kind of loop both of these questions in together. So the first question is this: when you hear the word adversity, what does it actually mean to you now? Not the textbook definition, but the lived definition. And then right after that, kind of combine these, how has your definition of adversities changed with your age? So it's kind of a two-part, but I kind of want to hit this part first and then hit this part.
Um, I don't think it's. I will start first with the
Okay.
last question. I don't think the definition has changed.
Okay.
I think my understanding of it has changed. I think
Mm.
when you look at adversity, it is what it is. It's like saying, "Oh, the sun is warm today." Well, the same sun, even though when I was younger, growing up in the southeast, it was hot back then, but it ain't hot like it is now. It's hot to me. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
Mm.
different. It's same heat, different type of heat though for
I
me.
like that.
So same definition of adversity, which is something that's and again I go back to what we're saying, something that stretches you to move outside of your comfort zone. That to me is adversity. And I think just that little simple definition, something that stretches you to move outside of your comfort zone. It identifies your desire to do it on your own accord, you being intentional about it, do it, whatever the case may be. Something happens and it forces you to move off of that spot. To me, I think that's adversity. Um, and again, adversity is adversity. To me, it doesn't change. It never changed. Just my understanding of it changed. Back then, I responded to the adversity based upon how I feel. Today, I respond to the adversity based upon what it teaches me.
I
You
like
said
that.
respond, not perception.
I'm sorry.
You said respond versus the perception.
I say respond.
Okay, respond.
Mhm.
All right, I like respond. I can't remember if it was respond or perception.
I like that. I like it. Um, so when I hear the word adversity, I always think of adversity as something that's working against me. Um, because I just look at the word adverse, right? So something that is working adversely in my life. So something that's working against me. Uh, and so whatever that is we trying to eat, but the job market is hard, and you know what I'm saying. Something like that's an adversity, Um, so my definition, I don't think has ever changed with age. It's just the things that I classify as adversity now. Some things are no longer adversity. I've learned how to cope with certain quote unquote challenges in life to a point to where they're no longer adversities to me. I know how to maneuver. They're just a part of life. When this comes up, all right, part of living is learning how to get around that. You know, someone talking bad about me is not adversity no more. Talk about me, okay. I know how to move with that. So I think my classification of what actually will be an adversity to me has changed with age.
I like that. I like Coach said about the stopping point. It was something in there you said, and then I pointed like this, but then now I forgot what it was, Gaddy. It was something that you had said was very, and I was like, yeah, that's it. So I would say this, and this is kind of going back to before, when I actually used the word definition. So I would say that for me, I kind of want to use definition just for this one point, and it had to do with my ignorance or what I thought my definition of was. Probably in the past, my definition of adversity probably came from nowhere, right? There wasn't a science book definition, there probably wasn't nothing. So I probably had a very um inaccurate definition of what I thought adversity was. Um So to the definition piece, now my definition would probably go back to what Coach said. The definition itself has always been the same. But in my head, I thought this was the definition, but it wasn't. So I didn't know what the definition of adversity was at some point. And then now I kind of sort of do. And like what everybody's kind of saying, I think is, almost like a challenge or something that comes up in your life. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, it's like a pause. Hey, something happened. What is going on? It's an identifier for something, you know, whatever that thing may be. So with that being said, I think we've talked about that enough. So I'm gonna, based off the time and stuff like that, we already at 30 minutes. I'm gonna scroll down to the next question. So if adversity, I mean, not if, is adversity now, you know, we older now, you know, in our 30s and 40s and 50s and stuff like that now. And you know, some of the people watching, they probably still in their 20s. So is adversity something, gentlemen, now that you expect, or do you feel like, or you think that is now something that kind of surprises you, or do you kind of expect it? Because I would say for me, I'll start with me. I would say for me, I expect it. Um, I have had a lot of different things that pop up. That's what it was, Gaddy. Everything ain't adversity. Like when Coach was talking about everything ain't a what's that word? I had it earlier. You like everything ain't trauma. Like everything ain't trauma. Some of it is just life. And I think it's the same thing with adversity. Everything ain't adversity. Some things is just life. But as somebody who's been on this earth for 50 years and seen a lot of different things, I expect it, you know, and how I respond to it and stuff like that is different than how I used to respond to it in the past. You know what I mean? So for me, is adversity something now that I expect, or still something that surprised me? I expect it now. I will say that even though I expect it, it still does have the tendency sometimes to surprise me, because sometimes I'm not always braced for it or ready for that adversity to happen, you know, even though I know at some point it's going to come. So for me, adversity is something that I do expect. However, I do still think that sometimes when it happens, I am surprised and it is caught off guard, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me.
You know, for me, the answer to this question is just yes on both sides. Because I expect
Okay.
adversity to come, but the thing that came surprised me. When I start moving and I start doing it, I expect. I just start talking about somebody talking bad about me. I expect people to talk bad about me. But we used to say they talked about Christ. They're gonna talk about me, right? But I didn't expect Coach to talk about me. I ain't say Coach ain't said nothing about me, right? But I didn't expect Coach to talk about me, so that surprised me. You see,
You
because he all
joke
the way
with
in
his
Georgia.
mindset
I'm in
on.
Texas. Yeah. And, but yes, I on both sides.
So
Yeah,
when
I
you
am
say
one.
that, so when you say that yes to both, so when you say you're surprised, in what way are you surprised? Like caught off guard, like I wasn't expecting Coach to say nothing negative about me. I get because that's just how he is. He always got something negative to say about everybody. But Coach ain't like that. So because Coach said it, now that kind of surprised me. You know what I mean? Is it more like that, or is it something different? Like, oh, it just came out of nowhere and I'm surprised.
So and I do like the question actually. So in that scenario, yes, because Coach is not like that, or not even just Coach is not like that. Coach is my brother. I didn't expect him to say something negative about me, or I expected him to come say it to me and not go to social media or not go to Unc or not go to, you get what I'm saying? Like, so that surprised me. And so, and it becomes a challenge. I don't know necessarily adversity, but it becomes a challenge because it's not that I don't know how to approach tough conversations. I never thought I'd had to approach one like that with this specific person. So yes, that did surprise me. Yes, that did become a struggle for me. But I do think sometimes although we expect adversity, in adversity can still become a surprise because the we don't expect our good moments to be interrupted. And so I'm Like let's say for instance, since I already talked about, I had a heart attack in the gym. I've never felt anything other than muscle pain in the gym. So I'm working out and I'm lifting, and I'm not saying I expected to have a heart attack. I didn't, but I know that things happen, health issue happen. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but I'm working out, and I don't expect this to be the thing that happened to me in the gym. I'm just lifting. I'm just getting into my workout, and I feel and I feel it's exhaustion. And when I kind of realized what it was, but I was like, nah, because I was so in shock. Like, dude, a month before your 40th, this was happening. Nah, it ain't happening. Like, so that was something that shocked me because I was enjoying a moment and was not expecting adversity to hit me at that time. And so it just because you weren't supposed to interrupt my good moment.
So yeah, I'm with you. The answer is yes for me as well. Um, I think there has to be an element of surprise to it because if I expect it, I mean I prepared for it. And if we understand what adversity is, like I know you mentioned what I said about trauma. Everything isn't trauma, especially the way that we pattern it in these conversations today.
Mhm.
Everything that we call trauma is not trauma. But what you thought was trauma was adversity. See, there's far more adversity than we even recognize. Even in the midst of just living an everyday life, there are still small amounts of adversity that you're going to go through your day to day. Most people don't even see it. Most people don't even realize it. And a lot of times, it teaches you lessons about yourself that you did not see. And then there are heavier doses of adversity that'll show up as well. And that's the one that really stretch you. That's the one that's really is going to move you. It's just like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you lift heavy weights, you lift heavy weight for a particular reason, but you can't lift heavy weight every day, right? You got to change it up. So lightweight does the exact same thing that heavy weight is just does it in a different way. Same thing with adversity. Adversity happens that exact same way. So a lot of times when we're dealing with certain things, and there's small things. We used to call them in the army ankle biters. That's still adversity. We have to adjust to account for them. So when you look at those things, do we plan for adversity? Absolutely. That's the number one thing that you do in project management. You plan for the what if to actually happen. But what if I had not considered this particular what if? That's the one that's going to surprise me, and that's the one that's going to hit me, and I'm going to have to adjust according to. So yes.
Okay, I like that. Definitely like both of you guys' responses to that. Another follow-on question to this is: do you think that men are taught to face adversity in healthy ways, or just kind of in the silent ways? What do you guys think? Do you think that men are taught to face adversity in healthy ways, or just in silent ways, or even at all? So this question is assuming that men are men are taught to face adversity. But if you don't want to go and say that men are taught to face adversity, I'm okay with that too. So again, the question itself, but if you want to back it up and not assume that men are taught to face adversity, I'm okay with that and the way that you respond to this question as well.
Um, I go first on this one. Do I think men are taught to face adversity? Pause. Yes, they're taught to face adversity according to the person's perspective of adversity who taught them. In healthy ways, no one cared about that. No one even considered that. Besides, when we look at healthy ways, now it assumes that every adversity that I respond to, requires a particular way for it to be healthy. No, some adversity you just need to respond to, healthy or unhealthy, right? Now, when we start talking about healthy ways, though, we're talking about ways to where I actually understand the adversity and the adversity grows me to move forward? Or are we talking about an unhealthy way of it responding to adversity is just me getting from under the pressure of this thing? Because I think a lot of times in your younger years, you look to get from under the pressure of the thing. In your older years, you look to learn from the thing. So I don't believe silent ways is an option because I
Hmm.
think in most cases, men respond. It may be perceived as silence from somebody else because the response is not what they're accustomed to. But there is a response. That's a part of human nature. You are a communicative being. You communicate in the way that you know how to communicate. And let's just be completely transparent. A lot of men did not know how to communicate verbally what they were feeling. So their automatic response was to be quiet and to think about it and stew on it and process it and make sense of it. That is a form of communication. So I think when we look at this question, do you think men are taught to face adversity? Yes. Most men I know, right? Most of us are taught to not run from problems, to deal with problems head on, to handle it, whatever it looks like, right? Sure. In healthy ways, no one knew that back then. Back then, we weren't even considering that because we were doing it the way that we seen men in our family do it. And if we did not necessarily have men in our family, we found a man and seen how they handled adversity. Then moving forward, we process the difference between right and wrong and then choose better ways to deal with adversity because we identified that the ways that we did it prior to was not, it wasn't beneficial for us. It wasn't beneficial for the people that we loved and things of that nature. But I just don't think that silent ways is an option. I think we responded to adversity the way that you know how until you discover better ways to respond to it.
So before you go, son of Timothy, Coach, you kind of said something right before near the end, and then you said something about this before about who's teaching? Who's doing the teaching? Who is this person or who are these people who are teaching men how to face adversity? I think you may have started going towards it a little bit at the end when you was talking about this man or something like that. But just to kind of clarify or kind of help me get a little bit more understanding, who are the people who are teaching men about adversity?
Whoever's available, if you're being transparent. That's
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 what I was
that's that's
thinking.
the honest answer. Whoever's available to teach that man how to deal with adversity is who taught that man how to deal with adversity. Everybody
Hmm.
didn't have a dad in a home that could teach them those things. You had uncles, maybe, right? Uncles who either were willing to do so or who were just willing to live their own life and do their own thing. And then when they did come around, you got excited to see them. But that's the answer. It's not because I don't think adversity is a gender-based thing. I think
Hmm.
adversity is a human thing, right? Did I see my mom handle adversity? Absolutely. Did I get the opportunity to see my dad handle adversity? Sure, every now and then. But I see my mom handle it at, more. So did I learn valuable lessons from her? I sure did. And it wasn't her
Okay, are
yelling
we
at the top of her lungs either.
so are you do you think so all right, so you think about us doing our 20 plus years in the military and Gaddy doing all the time that he did too. I don't know exactly how many, that's why I didn't state the exact number. But like when we see NCOs and officers and other people going through adversity and we learning, are they part of our teachers too if we pick up what they're doing? Like, are they is I guess what I'm saying is life part of our teacher too?
Life is the ultimate teacher.
Mm,
That's the test that you take. Like, we talk about grade school all the time and them teaching you how to take tests, pass or fail. But
yeah.
life is the ultimate test that you take. It doesn't matter who the person is. You're learning from everybody if you're smart. But you may look at a person, you may have a natural bias against that person. You may just automatically decide, I'm not going to learn from this particular person. Why? Because they don't look like me. They're a different gender than me or whatever. That's foolish. Life
Mhm.
is the ultimate teacher, and everybody that you encounter in life can teach you something. It is your own ignorance that reject the lesson that is available.
I like it. You got some more ammo now to answer this question, son of Timothy.
I mean, he took the ammo and shot it all out. You know what I mean? Like, but he went right where I was with this for me. Um, I think it's I think it's a trick question in the sense of, do you think men are taught to face adversity? Well, what do we and I'm right with Coach X, what are we classifying as adversity? One. And it and then in healthy ways, who's the determining factor of whether or not it was healthy? Because I don't think I ever heard that term, healthy, uh, 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 combative, or any type of healthy problem solving. Healthy. It was just, man, don't you let no man disrespect you. Don't you let no man put his hand on you. The ultimate disrespect is this. Like we were taught to handle things, right? Like at the end of the day, we
Just
were,
not those terms.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were just taught to handle things. Just, you got to face everything. I think the silent thing is more of the emotional conversation, right? At least the way I had it, right? I was taught when you're facing adversity, when you're facing a problem, you can't be crying about it. You gotta you can't think properly while when you're crying, and then you feel into it and all that. So that silent piece was when I love that response. The silent piece is is when I go into my mind and I begin to analyze how I'm going to address and go after this issue. The silent piece wasn't a stay silent and do nothing. It was it was always the emotion conversation. Learn how to control the emotion first, think, then attack the situation. Um, I know today we say that that's unhealthy because that's teaching boys not to cry. They just got to learn when to cry. You know what I mean? I I can't I can't cry right now because I got to get through this. I got to get this thing done. We'll cry on them back. Just kind of like what we were taught. We're like, hey, when we do the PT test and you just got that, you got 5 more to get, and I only got 3 more seconds left. Hey, you rest when you're done. Come on, 4, 3, 2, push. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the mindset. Hey, we'll cry when you're done. When you get home, you cry. But right now, how are we going to get through this? And then that's how I was taught. Like, I think we had this conversation like a year or so ago when we talked about the stoic man. And it's just like, I think the stoic man had a misconception. I I don't think silence is the answer, but I don't think all silence is lack of addressing, or lack of movement. Sometimes I'm silent because I'm calculating the movement. So
And I'll just add a little bit more to this. Coach did a good job of clarifying, and the rest of the questions and follow on and everything. So for me, do I think men are taught to face adversity in healthy ways or just silent ways? Um, y'all both kind of spoke on the silent piece, and Coach talked about the response and the communication piece to even the silence. So, and then you hit on that a little bit too. But I think that um do I think that men are taught to face adversity in healthy ways? Yes, but I also don't necessarily think that being silent is unhealthy either. You know what I mean? Sometimes, there's adversity, and kind of what Gaddy was just alluding to and talking about is that there's adversity. There may be a space and time where I need to go in silence and think about what the next move is. And it may be a couple of days. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to share, but I may be spending a lot more time in thought because there's some adversity going on right here, and things need to be adjusted and figured out so something can be moved forward. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily that we're being shut down or dismissive or not talking or just being silent. Sometimes we're just dealing with and trying to problem solve through while we're going through that adversity. And I just wanted to kind of point out that just because you're silent doesn't automatically mean that that is an unhealthy way. I think that if you're using silence in a manipulative way, then I think in that point with the adversity, then I don't think that you should be doing like being silent in that way. But it's for a healthy reason, then I'm all for it. But moving on to the next question, man. I think this is a good one. Um, and I'll actually start with it. What is a challenge you went through that you would not remove from your life because of what it gave you? And mine, honestly, was the challenge of going through my divorce. And then, just some of the things in my past marriage. I have learned a lot of different things going through that marriage, the first marriage, looking back on things, being able to poke out what was my part in it, what was my responsibility, and then be able to go through and figure out how I can be better the next time, or what was the lesson learned from X, Y, and Z. So that was a big challenge, learning how to maneuver with kids and all of these different things. It helped me grow in a lot of other areas of my life, because there was just one incident, but it's so big and it has so many different legs in the divorce. I mean, you got wives and husbands, and you got kids, and you got family members, and you got in-laws, and you got relationships, and you got football games. Now you got new boyfriends and new girlfriends. I mean, all of the different challenges and stuff like that that you go through in a divorce, or there's a lot. And when you've been with somebody for a lot of years, 14, 15, 19, 20 years and stuff like this, and then you break up, you know what I mean? Even the challenge of kind of sort of for some people learning who you are again, because you've been with somebody from the age of 20 to 40, you know what I mean? And then now you're single, you've been married and raising kids for 20 years. Now you're single and maybe you're not raising kids. So for me, the big challenge, I know I've kind of long-winded on this one, but one of the challenges that I went through that I would not remove from my life because of what it gave me was the challenge of the divorce and everything that I learned from it. Now that I'm on this side of it.
Um, I would say uh, my early life poverty, right? Um, because I learned a level of contentment in life. Like I don't need to hit the lottery. I don't need to be a billionaire, millionaire, nothing like that. Um, right where I'm at, I know what to do with it. I know I know how to use it. Um, doesn't mean that I lose my drive to get promoted. I don't mean I lose my drive to you know walk through an open door when it opens for you, right? And take opportunities that will better you. It don't mean that you don't want to better yourself, but it means that I'm not. I'm never willing to compromise me, my character, my belief, anything like that, for the sake of making more. If that makes sense, So learning that contentment early on in life is like I promise you, when I was a private, that was more money than anybody I knew had at one time. You know what I mean? So for me, I was already doing all right. You got to promote so you don't RCP and get kicked out. But other than that, I've already come up in my mind, and so everything from then on was a plus. Only thing I just wish I had better money management skills when I was younger. But outside of that,
So, for the sake of conversation, both of you took my answer, um, but I can still use that answer. Both
Yeah,
of them,
you can add more to it.
yeah, both of them actually. Um, because when I look at this question, what is the challenge you went through that you would not remove? I don't think I remove any of them, because
Mm.
every challenge I've been through is what created me to be the person I am today. Each challenge was unique. Each challenge brought a different lesson that I had to learn about myself. The challenges that you go through in life aren't about the thing or the person or whatever. It's about you. Every last one of them is about you. What you need to learn so that you can move to the next stage or the next phase. And so every challenge is the reason why I'm sitting in this chair right now. If there had not, if one of them was missing, I do not believe I'd be talking to you guys right now. I do not believe that I would be doing the things that I'm doing right now. So,
Mm.
what challenge you went through that you would not remove from your life? Not one single one of them, because it gave me my current identity. And then the next one that shows up, sure, it's going to be more to go along with that, right? And it's going to make my current identity more clear. It's going to make the things that I'm doing more profound and so forth and so on. So that's my response.
Mm. Um, I like all of that. I know I went first on this, but I think there was really, it kind of circles back to around is, when people talk about, we learn from everything that we go through, all of those lessons and stuff like that, to hear somebody say they wouldn't change or they wouldn't remove any of their challenges out of their life. It just kind of gave me pause for a minute. Like, yeah, it's like I knew that, but it was almost like reconfirmed again, like just now. It's like, but it was almost like I just heard it for the first time, but I know I haven't. So like that really resonated with me. And I think that, that's probably, when people say, oh man, I gotta go through this challenges. And sometimes the challenges and adversity, they freaking suck sometimes. They just do. You know what I'm saying? But and then people talking about with hindsight's 2020, you're on the other side of it now. And yes, we are on the other side of it now, but I'm thinking I'm liking that. I'm thinking I'm liking the fact that I wouldn't, you know, remove any of those challenges. But then I think about some of the really hard ones, and I wonder, and like some of them, I'm like, man, I wish I wouldn't have went through that. So I don't know. Maybe that's something for me to gnaw on a little bit later on tonight or tomorrow, like that. I don't want to hold up the conversation or anything like that. But
But
definitely,
if I can though, because
yeah.
so I was on the same thought right now.
Hmm.
I promise you, when I say coach, I always take my answer, but I went
Yeah.
first because in my head I was like, let me pinpoint one because I'm thinking on the same mindset. But even what you said, like I think sometimes I'll be like, there's some things that I've learned from certain things I've went through that I wish I could have learned a different way. Right? Glad I learned the lesson. Wish I had a different teacher. you know, but when I get in that thought process, my mind goes directly to, am I challenging the Most High? Is there, because think on this, is there another way that Job could have learned the lesson that God is in control? Is there another way that Satan could have known that Job was going was not going to curse the Most High and die? I'm pretty sure there was another way, but the way in which it came was designed because of who it was given to. I couldn't take. I may have learned some of the same lessons Coach learned, but I couldn't learn it his way. It was designed for him. I had to learn it through my own ways, or I would have missed the point he was showing me. And and I didn't interject because I'm not trying to correct. Oh, I just because we got people that are listening, right? And so it was designed for you. I know it sucked because the stuff I went through sucked too. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure all of us up here can have it could tell that story that it sucked. And yes, there especially during the moments we wish it never happened. But who else could have handled it, moved forward, and still grew because of it, if not you?
Yep.
So
Man, I definitely appreciate the add on you added onto that question. Definitely appreciate all you guys perspective and stuff like that. So I got a personal question for us and the audience. I want to spend a whole lot of time on it. Maybe pick one or something like that, and gnaw on it for a little bit, and then we'll just swing around the horn real quick just for sake of time. So here's a personal question for all of us. What's one expectation you carried that wasn't yours, but you lived under it anyway? What's one expectation you carried that wasn't yours, but you lived under it anyway?
I think if I have to answer this question as is, um, for a very long time, I carried the expectation that I had to be twice as smart and work twice as hard because that's what was taught to me. If you want to be successful in life, you're going to have to work twice as hard and you're going to have to be twice as smart. So I became a hardworking nerd. And then I didn't like back then, I didn't like the effects of being a nerd. So I was that nerd that stayed in the shadows. I had nerd like qualities, and people who knew me knew, right? I was a nerd, but then I kind of like, I wanted to be with the cool kids, right? Everybody did that. So, I did not display. I would sometimes act as though I didn't know. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that's it. I don't. There's not a whole lot of expounding on that. Like twice as smart and twice as hard. That's it.
Yeah. I'll let you go last, Gad, and let you clean us up. For me, mine is that I gotta be strong all the time. Like, when you grow up as, a little boy and you get told to, brush it off, suck it up, and then you're into sports and it's, relearned and you get the same thing there. And then you go into the military and the same thing is, and then you become a father, you become a husband, and then every place where you go, you're not expected to be weak. You are expected to be strong everywhere you go. And I think that's something that I definitely used to carry. And it doesn't mean that I'm weak, but it just means that I don't necessarily have to be what someone else's expectation or definition of strong is. You know what I'm saying? I don't let other people determine for me what strong looks like anymore. And for me, just because, you see me, Gaddy running his mouth and we at the club or something like that, probably ain't at the club, probably ain't running his mouth. And then I turn away, like back in the day, it's like, oh, he a punk now. Like you may look at me and it's like, man, what's wrong with this clown over here? Like, but it's like for me, that's the strength. The strength now, well, back then the strength was getting into it and scrapping with Gaddy. Now the strength is it looks different now. The strength is walking away, living, to fight another day, not getting pew-pewed at the club, being able to make it back home to my wife and kids. You know what I'm saying? Like all of those things that you don't necessarily think about in the moment, when I was younger, I do now. But you know what I'm saying? For me is, that expectation that I carry with me is that I had to be strong all the time, no matter what.
Man, that
You
was
you
actually
you, you know you know Gaddy like 6'2", right? I'm just want to put that out there. Just
Is he for real? You that tall?
nah, man.
Oh, I'm like I'm
I might be the tallest one on this panel, but I
how
ain't.
are you?
Nah, I'm 5'11".
Oh, you taller than me. I'm like 5'6" and some change.
Yeah, I'm taller than everybody on this, and it's sad. Ain't none of us 6 feet. I'm the tallest one on the panel.
okay. I'm going back on mute now. I'm done.
Hey, real quick before you go, I definitely want to take a quick second to shout out everybody who donated. Definitely appreciate every single seed that was donated into this podcast, into this Hearts of Men, into Empowering Perspective, into all of that stuff like that. Definitely appreciate it. Um, RBN Brower, his divine appointment, and anybody else that I may have missed. Definitely appreciate the donations. Appreciate you. All the money and proceeds would definitely go back into building something bigger and better and giving you guys exactly what, not exactly, but back into the production and stuff like that. So let me shut up and let Gaddy answer this question. Again, appreciate you.
No, definitely, absolutely appreciate it, man. Um, it's part of the way we keep coach from going deep into his pockets, so we can keep giving y'all quality. So, um, whew, now I forgot what my answer was because strong was actually my answer. Uh, but and honestly, it was. It was quite a few of them. But one, not that it wasn't mine, but the pressure, which was making it in the military. Right?
Mm.
You know how much even when I got in trouble, I would do anything, not to get myself chaptered out the army, because I could not go back to the hood and say I didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just knew, and it's just everything that came with that. Like I stayed, I might have stayed in my marriage too long because I felt like there was an expectation for me to be a good family man. Like the way that I perceived my life young, and I think and I don't even know if it was expectations of others. I just always believed that that's what they thought. People thought that I was gonna have a successful marriage. People thought I was gonna be a successful soldier. People thought, and so I lived this mindset that I couldn't disappoint. Who couldn't I disappoint? It didn't matter. I couldn't go back there though and have them think that I couldn't hack it because I wasn't gonna be that guy. And so and I think it's a lot of decisions that I made and didn't make, a lot of situations I stayed in longer than I should have stayed in, or what have you, simply for the fact of I did not want to go home and say I failed.
I mean, I get that. I think that is something that's pretty common for a lot of people in the military. I was definitely one of those people. I definitely, stayed in out of fear. I stayed in my marriage longer than I should have out of fear. So I think it's definitely something that people go through for whatever reason. They stay in situations sometimes a little bit too long. So I get that, man. Definitely appreciate everybody's response, all the information, everybody's conversation in the chat, all of those good things. Moving on, we're going to slide down to would you rather. So we just ask a couple of questions of would you rather. We're just going to pick which one would you rather do. So with that being said, gentlemen, the first would you rather question of the evening is this: would you rather go through a painful season that makes you wiser, or a comfortable season that keeps you the same?
I'm gonna go with A.
Going with A, wise.
All growth has a little pain to it, so
Uh-oh, coach shaking his head in the opposite direction.
I mean, I'm gonna go with A, but both of them are inevitable. So it doesn't really matter which one you want. You're gonna go through both.
you're gonna go through right.
Right.
I don't want to stay in pain. Like, give me time to enjoy the growth that I just got. but definitely.
As to not, I want to say both, but it's would you rather. I'm gonna say why, bro. Sometimes, man, sometimes I just like where I'm at. Sometimes I'm in a good space, and I just want to be in. I want to be on autopilot for a couple of months. I've had times where I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to read anything. I don't want to grow right now, and it don't mean I want to grow altogether, but maybe let me tell you that. Maybe it's to focus on certain things during certain amount of times. I've had taken, kind of brain breaks where I've like taken a couple months off where I like didn't read any books or anything like that. I may have just listened to podcasts or watched YouTube, but like maybe not did something just to kind of be like, oh man, I don't know. I guess maybe because I don't know. I don't always like reading, but I don't know. I guess if I had to choose one, I'd probably still rather choose go through a painful.
It sounds like you said both, though.
Yeah, but I'm trying not to. This is called Would You Rather. So the goal is to just pick one,
It's
but
inevitable. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's go to the next one then. Would you rather fail publicly and learn fast, or struggle privately and never talk about it?
Do I have to fail publicly to learn
Right.
that? I mean,
Right.
It's just the scenario. Say
I
open
mean,
publicly. Maybe
I
it's on
don't,
your job or I
I'm
don't know.
struggling right now
I mean,
because
Huh?
I don't mind the public thing, but I mean, is it necessary for it to be public for me to learn?
No, it's not. No, no. I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily that you need it in order to learn.
Okay.
so I get it. Some failures are public. Um, if
This
I'm
particular failure that we're talking about is inevitable. It's a publicly fail.
and so here's where my struggle is at, right? Because
Hmm.
me personally, when I'm going through, I'm private. I do listen. I could fail publicly, but don't talk to me about it until I get through it. Leave me be. If I might need you, but if I do, I'll call you. Like I don't mean to sound a way about it. It's because you ever went through something publicly and everyone wanted to bombard you with different advices and you can't take them all. It's just like, hey, and 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 then some people just persist on no, you got to do it my way. You got to do it my way, and I'm just like, I hear you, I got that, but let me work. So for me, I would rather quietly just and we talked about the quiet thing earlier. Let me put this thing together, and I might need you. I might need your expertise. I might need your advice, but I'll call you.
So struggle privately. Is that what you going with?
But not to never talk about it thing. I don't see because I will call you if I need you.
That's the option.
That's
I
what my
mean,
struggle.
whichever one I get to learn, that's the one I'm gonna go with. Next question.
The learn one. All right, there we go. He said whenever you get to learn from. All right, what's on the next one? Would you rather have adversity expose your weakness now or let success hide them until later?
I'm
All right. At 20, 19, 18, expose my weaknesses so I can learn and grow. Right? I don't care. At 40, listen, I still want to grow, right? But if I've met success in the area, what what, what am I reaching now?
I'm just struggling with the parameters. Again,
That's why I'm dancing because I'm trying to find my way in the perimeters.
I'm not gonna dance. I'm stepping on toes.
Step on toes.
Does success mean that I don't see my weaknesses though?
Mm-mm.
Right. So that's why I'm like I'm scratching my head with this one. Like, okay, again, whichever one means I learn now. But again, I think a misconception about success is that we don't get to see our weaknesses. That's not true. We can still identify things that we're weak at in the midst of achieving success. I mean, I know I'm messing up the game. My bad. I'm just saying.
No. You good. You good. I get it.
Because I'm there though because my question is if I'm reaching and I kind of got an idea where we're gonna go, but I want to hear one of y'all break it down though, and I know we're coming on time. But if I'm met because I'm putting this in specific spaces, right? I'm not just talking about overall life, right? Because we all will always have weaknesses that we can grow with, right? But if I met success in this specific area, you know, what is my necessity to address every weakness?
Yes. All right, we're gonna slide down. We're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna jump to the next question. How about that? All right, so here we go. Last one. Would you rather face one intense season that changes everything, or multiple smaller challenges that slowly shape you over time? And again, I do think this is something that inevitably both happens, but it can happen that both can happen. Tongue tied.
I'm gonna pick number two on this one.
Yeah, I'm with overtime as well.
Like the overtime.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right. Next, gentlemen, what we're going to do, we got the next question. So the next question is this: how can adversity break a man if he doesn't process it correctly? And I know I said man, but I think this is one of those questions I want to take out man, and I would just want to use the word person.
I
Um,
have a request.
yeah.
Because I noticed somebody said in the chat that men process differently. So I would like for the women to answer this question in the comment section because I want to see just how different we are. Because I don't
Okay.
necessarily subscribe to that. I don't subscribe that men process differently. I think we process pretty much. We just process. That's what it is. We have different
Mhm.
upbringing, we have different backgrounds, things of that nature. But I'm curious. So, women, if you don't mind, answer this question in the comment section. How can adversity break a woman if she doesn't process it correctly?
Mm. All right, here we
I
go.
like that. I ditto that request. um, hmm, how can it break a man? That's the part. Hmm. So, to be honest with you, when I hear the word break a man, if he doesn't process it correctly, it for me it's the situation, right? So if the adversity especially is family related, because let's just be honest, a lot of everything we're taught and a lot of everything, even the process it differently concept, is because we're taught everything from a be prepared to take care of a family aspect as men. All right, you know, you make this much money because you got to be able to take care of family. You know, you got to be able to maintain the jobs. You can take care of family. You got to be strong so you can be able to take care of your family. You know, all of these things we're talking about, we was always taught it from a family perspective, right? And so, at least I would say in large, because I know there's nothing absolute, right? But but with that, with that in mind, if my finances become an adversity and I can't feed my family, and it breaks a man if he doesn't process it. Like the hard part is when I hear my kids say I'm hungry and I ain't got nothing and I can't do nothing about it. That could break a man. But I don't know if it has to do with how he processes it because it's in the moment. In that moment, it could break me. And in that moment, and breaking, I don't know what y'all think about it with breaking, but and obviously I'm speaking from the things that I've seen personally in my life, right? You know, but I watched my mama more struggle trying to feed us, and when it broke her, my mama went to go do some things to get the money, right? For men, we're not going to do the same thing my mama did to get the money. We're going to do something a little more violent sometimes. Some people hit that breaking point because you don't want to see your kids starve. You don't want to see, you know, somebody hurt your family. So you go and you react a certain way. You don't want to see nobody disrespect your wife. So you go just to stand on her honor. The breaking point is more of in the moment. So I'm just having that problem with process correctly because some situations sometimes deem for an immediate action. And so how do I process it if I have to act now all the time? And that's why it's good sometimes to have been brought up properly and have seen your father. I think Coach addresses, having seen your father handle things because some things I need to be able to handle right now. So I can word spill on this, so I'm a hush.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you with the process correctly thing. That's kind of like what I talked about previously. At some point in your stage in your life, and I love how we answer questions today because a lot of times we tend to answer questions today with our current level of awareness as if we never had a previous level of awareness, right? Um, and it's funny to me. Um, but I think for the most part, I answered this previously. I made mention of at a certain point, at a certain stage in your life, you may have understood something and it may not have, that adversity did not necessarily work out in the way that you wanted it to, or that thing didn't work out the way that you wanted it to, and it was an adverse situation, and therefore you respond in a way that was less desirable. You probably moved around that diversity. You found a quick fix to it because at the end of the day, going back to what Gaddy said, like I had responsibility I had to take care of. Moving forward to today's awareness, it's totally different because now it's all about staying here and understanding the thing that the adversity is trying to teach me because that's why it showed up. It showed up to teach me a thing. So when we look at this particular question, like how can adversity break a man? Well, because his identity of himself equates to what he actually do based upon what he was taught about himself back then. I talked about this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago and several times previously. Advise and protect. I'm sorry, provide and protect, right? So if that's your identity back here, provide and protect, whenever I'm in a situation when I can't do one or the other, I revert to some type of means so I can get back to doing that as fast as I possibly can. It might mean getting a second job. It might mean doing something on the side to make some money, whatever that looks like, right? Because again, that's the identity back then. And I think that proves true for everybody. I don't care who you are. Whatever your identity is, if for whatever reason adversity shows up, you respond to that adversity according to the strengths of your identity. But if adversity exposes one of those things that you perceive to be strong, now you're going to spiral because of it until you learn how to respond in a different way. The term breaking, I think a lot of times we think it is a bad thing, it's a not so good thing. Listen, you got to break a horse for you ride it. You got to break a wild animal before he can actually be tamed. So are all of you. Every person at some point in time was a wild stallion that needed to be broken, and adversity was the tool that was used. Adversity was the thing that showed up to break you out of whatever it was you was going through. And then now you learned something different. That's why I say it teaches you a lesson about yourself. So processing it correctly is based upon your understanding of the adversity. Correctly is, I mean, that's here and that's here nor there. And so now what that looks like moving forward, I process it differently. And when I process it differently, to you, it looks correct. To somebody else, it looks correct. But you have no idea what's going on inside of here because there may be some things that show up within this box. I don't want it. I don't want to go through this again because I've seen this movie before. So I'm going to ensure that everything I do ensures that I don't experience this over here again. But now, how can I ensure that the experience is a new, more profound experience that moved the needle positively in the direction in which I'm trying to go? So that's the point that I'm trying to make. Like, we believe that we're all different. But if we're all different, let's throw the Bible in the trash and let's stop going to the doctor because the only thing they're telling us is how much we're all the same. So if I highlight on my little individual different, my little nuance, the one little thing that makes me unique from Garfield and make me unique from Gaddy, then does the Bible work for me? Does it work for Gaddy? Does it work for Garfield? I don't know because I'm so focused on how different I am as opposed to recognizing adversity could care less who you are.
I like everything that was said up to this far. And with that being said, I'm going to keep my response pretty short. So I look at adversity with this question: how can adversity break a man if he doesn't process it correctly? Let's say, for instance, this bottle right here is my adversity. If I process this bottle as food and I try to eat it with starting with the bottle, then I'm gonna have a mess. You know what I mean? Because my brain has processed this as food and that is something to drink. So if I process this as something to drink and I take the top off of it and drink it, more than likely everything should be good. But I can see how if I try to go down a different path, whatever that path is, and the processing of what I think about that adversity is wrong or processed wrong, then next thing you know, I'm way off glide path. I'm way off my target. I'm way off, you know what I mean? Or I can be way off where I'm actually trying to get and where it can my adversity can benefit me. So I think that the processing with along with this and everything you said, the processing of the adversity is very important. And it goes back layers to how you're receiving it, how you are learning it, and all of those other different things when it come into adversity. For the sake of time, excuse me, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a scenario. Actually, oh, Coach, before we go to the scenario, do you want to? Haven't looked too much at the chat because I was finishing up right here. Do you want to? Did we want to go back and address any of those questions or those responses to this question in the from the chat?
Um, I tell you what, for the sake of, I want to see where to start at.
Mhm.
So I think this is the first one. We will stay
Okay.
in the cycle of life until we get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of what decisions, changes we need to make to come out of the situation. Okay. Then you have it will put us in survival mode. I don't need anyone. I would say adversity can keep a woman stuck in that season, reliving the same mistake and becoming a professional victim, never owning her part to move through it. I think men respond more. Okay, now that's not what I'm looking for. There we go. I think women process emotionally first. Unprocessed adversity can quietly fracture a woman from inside out. Pain turns inward instead of being released. Um, I'm not sure if this is one. I'm just saying that you don't have someone that you can support. Okay, struggle privately. We got it. Um, adversity doesn't automatically make a woman stronger. Um, yeah, so I think what you're seeing is a consistency, some degree of consistency of comments. And then that's the
Mhm.
whole point that I'm making. It does not matter what your sex is. Human human behavior is human behavior. Sure, there are certain nuances that exist, but the nuances aren't the major thing. It's the fact that there's an external factor that is affecting the human. Now, how is the
Mhm.
human going to respond?
All right. All right.
Yeah, I think when we talk about the differences, I think it's the outlet, not the process. Right.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna hit this scenario one real quick, and then we're gonna follow up with the final thoughts. We'll go Gaddy, Coach, and then I'll clean this up at the end. So here's the scenario. Chat, feel free to respond, chime into this as well. You're in a loving relationship, but constant conflict forces hard conversations. Do you see do you see the tension as a warning to leave or an opportunity to grow, communicate, and mature? And then explain. This is Tyrone. And maybe Tamika. Is it Tamika?
Yeah, I think it. Uh, so we start off with saying you're in a loving relationship.
Loving relationship.
If we're in a loving relationship, one conflict shouldn't be a sign to leave, right? Because we're saying it's a loving relationship, so that's a precursor to the type of relationship. But then you say, but constant conflict, like so, we're talking about the same thing every day, and it's creating hard conversations. We, I look at that, and I'm like, the relationship is loving, and we're having this one conversation every day. I'm assuming it's the same conversation every day about the same thing that's bugging me. Why why is there an inability to adjust in this place? Because we need to address that instead of because because what are we trying to do? I think it sounds like you're trying to get me or I'm trying to get you to stop doing the thing that bothers me, right? Versus trying to understand why you do the thing, you know, and and is it something that I can begin to? Because I don't think I think sometimes we get bothered by stupid things when we're in relationships. I see you every day. I listen to you every day. I watch you every day. I smell you every day. I just don't like the way you smack your teeth when you eat. Now I want you to change the way you eat. Like that's petty. So really get to the nitty gritty of why this bothers me and why why are you attached to it, and then we can address it that way because the precursor, you're in a loving relationship. Now, if you didn't put the precursor, what type of relationship, depends on what it is. You can play with the scenario a little more for me, because now I'm in the space to where I'm trying to figure out, if everything, if every every boundary that I've put up, you had to cross. Everything I said, you had to do the opposite. Everything I'm involved with, you had to demean, and so we keep having these conversations. Okay, the problem is you don't either there is no you don't respect or love me in this relationship, and so what are we doing? That's the next conversation. But the precursor in the lover relationship, I'm readdressing how I look at and how they look at whatever this issue is.
Okay, I'll be real quick, Coach, and I'll let you clean us up. So you're in a loving relationship, but constant conflict forces hard conversation. Do you see the tension as a warning to leave or an opportunity to grow, communicate, and mature? I'm kind of going to say a little bit of both. First of all, I need to get to the nitty gritty and figure out what's the reason why we're having these constant conflicts, and to where we having to keep force these hard conversations. We're not married; we're just in a loving relationship. It all depends on how intentional we are, all of these different things like that when it comes to the relationship. So I think for me, I would probably be more so on the side, if I am in a loving relationship, I wanted to continue on, I wanted to move forward and different things like that, then I'm probably going to see this more of an opportunity to grow, to communicate, and then to mature. I'm not going to be looking to try to end the relationship. If at some point we're talking, having conversations, and I see the constant conflict is something that, I don't know, something that maybe, you can kind of deal with it, but it may be a deal breaker somewhere along those lines, or it may be something you can deal with, but you may later on decide that you really can't deal with it. It may be a deal breaker. Like maybe you met your girl you met your person at the club, right? And now, you getting your life together, whatever like that, but that person kind of still want to keep going to the club. You know what I mean? But now you in a space where, look, I really ain't about that life no more. So I don't really want you going to the club no more. So now there's constant conflict about the club. So now that may be a deal breaker. We may be on two different sides of the fence as far as our trajectory and what we want in life. I'm trying to settle down, have kids. You still want to be in the club. So depending on what that constant conflict is, that's forcing these hard conversations, is going to determine whether or not I'm going to see that tension as a warning to leave or an opportunity to grow and communicate. Now, initially, I'm going to want to have the opportunity to grow, communicate, and mature. But after a while, we keep talking about this club thing and you keep wanting to go. Then after a while, I'm just like, look, well, there's too much tension here. You want to live that lifestyle. I want to live this lifestyle. So it may be better for us to just, go different directions and stuff like that. So we're all still here. Just FYI, Coach dropped off. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure if they have weather or if it's his social media or his account or anything like that. But we're going to keep rocking on, and then we're going to rock on right now with our final thoughts. We're going to go with Gaddy, and if the coach comes back in, we'll pick him up, and then if not, then we'll close it out or see what goes on with Coach and whether or not he'll be here for his final thought or not. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our final thoughts.
Man, I enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed the chat. Y'all were on fire today. And thank you, Unc, for bringing this topic and the powerful questions. Listen, adversity is a part of our life. I do like that we address we can expect adversity, but here's the only thing that we can do in order to be prepared for adversity: is gird yourself up. Put on the whole armor of Yah, right? That's it. That you may be able to stand against the enemy. Then, right, he tells us then to put on the whole armor of Yah, that we may be able to withstand the fiery arrows and fiery darts of the enemy. So things are going to come up. The only thing we could do to prepare is to gird ourselves up with righteousness, with truth, with the word, right? We gotta be We got to be in position to hear from him, to move with his Holy Spirit, so that we can move forward. I know that that wasn't the context of the conversation, but adversity happens. We have to be able to get through it. We have to be able to learn from it. But to me, the best way to be prepared for it is to be prepared to move with him and with his rock. That's all I got for this evening.
Amen. Definitely appreciate your final thought. Here's mine. We talk about tonight's topic: adversity doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I think that's very important. Like you just mentioned, and we've talked about it tonight, all night, is that adversity is something that at some point in your life, it will happen. This is just part of life. It's just like brushing your teeth or going to the bathroom. It's something that just part of life. And there is no way around it. So, but how you handle it when adversity happens is very important. It's very important to your growth. It's very important to your future. It's very important to have your overall well-being in life. Adversity, you know, can have, if it's not dealt with, can have huge repercussions. It could have huge issues on your mental health, your overall well-being, as mentioned before. So I think adversity and being able to deal with it, having skills and tools to help you deal with it when it comes is very important. So I think that everybody should, learn a little bit more about adversity and how to deal with it when it comes, because inevitably it is something that we all will face. If you or if any age you have been through it, some of us and some of y'all have been through, what some would call bigger things or more adverse things than others. But at the end of the day, what we go through is what we go through. And if you are someone out there and you're listening to this, I would say that, as mentioned in at the beginning of the show, this is something that, welcome to the team. You're not necessarily behind or anything like that. Just everybody deals with adversity. But again, how we deal with it when it shows up is a huge determining factor on our trajectory of our life. And that is my final thought for this evening. Folks, coach ended up having some technical difficulties, so he won't be back. I am pretty sure he sends his goodbyes and anything like that. He will not be coming back. But if you haven't already, go ahead and look at that, wherever that thing is, at the corner of the screen and go ahead and scan, because 10:30 in the morning, there's a seminar. So coach and everybody else would love, and all of us would love to have you there. So look forward to whoever's going to be there tomorrow. Don't forget, it's tomorrow morning at 10:30. Actually, did he pop up? Oh. So he popped up, but his thing ain't on there. So hold on, let me look. All right, yeah, he's not coming back. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, son of Timothy, you got anything before we hit this end button?
No, sir. TikTok Sunday. I'm not sure who's hosting,
TikTok
but
Sunday.
11:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. All right. With that being said, y'all. Okay, hold on. Okay. There you go. All right. You good? Said, y'all. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
He's still choppy.
I'm struggling over here.
Yeah. He's still choppy. So he ain't gonna be with us to the end. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the snow if you get some. And we are out.